Going on, everybody? Welcome in to Nebraska Cornhuskers Live. We are entering the bye week coming off of the Rutgers win. So, a few things to talk about outside of the Rutgers game. Hold on, I'm trying to get my life sorted out here with my notes in my StreamYard. So, yeah, lots to get into. So, you know, going through the Rutgers game, we could talk about some of the things that Nebraska needs to work on, in preparation for the Indiana game, the focus should be in this break. And, ironically, this has become a very important bye week now with Indiana being as good as they are. So we're going to roll through some of the things that Nebraska needs to work on execution wise, some of the things that they can improve upon, but also kind of give a mid-season report, see where everything's at versus where we thought they might be. Kind of roll through some individual players who have, been tremendous for us, especially in recent weeks. So we're going to get into a little bit of everything there. Be sure to drop your comments. Leave a like on the stream. It really, really helps me out, helps get me into the algorithm and help people find the content as well. So I appreciate everybody who does that. Drop your comments in here. Let me know what you think. I'm going to be interacting with y'all as we go along. So, but first, just takeaways from the Rutgers game. It was apologies, I had to take a sip of water. It was a ugly game, of course, but an ugly game is what Nebraska normally loses, right? So, coming out of that game, there were a few things, well, a lot of things execution-wise that were a struggle. However, looking at it in a, microcosm, maybe that will be the case. Looking at it big picture, I think it was very important for Nebraska to get that one-score victory, the hard-fought win, and not only that, one of the bigger things is about the ability of Nebraska to, recover under certain circumstances where normally I feel like with their back against the wall or, in a normal situation, maybe in the last few years, they would have lost their momentum. And, for instance, the block punt put our backs against the wall. Defense came out fired up. They're like, we're not going to allow a rushing touchdown. They came out with confidence. And I feel like we might have conceded that touchdown in the past almost, and tried to get our offense back out there and get it back. Whereas this year it's a little bit different, right? They're like, we're not going to give you that. And now, looking back at the game, it was extremely important overall, not only in that moment, but for how the game went overall. And, if it's 14-14, then Rutgers isn't chasing points there at the end. They can run their offense a little bit more systematically. So, big picture, at the end of the day, the win wasn't the best performance, but I think there are a lot of things that this Nebraska team grew from. And looking back at the Illinois game, I said this then, and I think this is the same case, that film was invaluable for setting Nebraska up with Rutgers. You saw defensively, we mixed things up, right? You saw occasionally you'd see four hands in the dirt, right? Instead of just the three. Trying to beef up that front a little bit, but also at the same time, not completely changing the entire look. But there were elements of things that Nebraska didn't necessarily do against Illinois on the defensive side of the ball. And again, I think that was, in an effort because of what we saw, with Illinois being able to keep Nebraska kind of on their heels, especially at the second level in the linebacking core. Kyle Monangai being held to 78 yards after averaging 147 per game coming in. He had 6 touchdowns in 4 games. He broke loose on a couple of, 10-yard carries, but overall, just as the game went along, it fit the game script that I kind of predicted. I put out a tweet that I thought Nebraska's game plan was to win. The necessary game plan to win that was to be able to not let. Yeah, I said by halftime, Nebraska needs, or later, Nebraska needs a lead, preferably double digits, and they need to hold that because that's going to force Rutgers out of what they want to do. And that's exactly what happened. Ethan Kalik-Manis then had to try to beat us with his arm. And while he was efficient coming into this game, that was because he was rolling off of Kirk Shiroka's kind of system there, where he really tends to play to Kelly McManus's strengths because he gets everything going off of the run game, gets some RPOs going, and get some run action passes going as well. And they just weren't able to kind of do that. And so with Kelly McManus back there in the shotgun, just trying to really kind of get his way down the field, you saw the errors and where Kelly McManus, you know, turns into Ethan Kelly McManus, where he can't really beat you with just his arm. But great day by the defense. Of course, the defense is getting a ton of credit, naturally so. They're 0 rushing touchdowns. I think I saw they're the only team with 20 plus sacks, over 10 turnovers forced, and under 13 points per game or something like that. The only team in the country that has all 3 of those. So this defense is playing out of its mind, and it's a combination due to the young guys and the older guys. You have games like Purdue, where you had John Bullock stepping up big in that game, and John Bullock's been a big part of this year's success. But then last week, James Williams, coming out and really, him getting that last, the last series there and being able to do that stuff, because I was watching him battle out on the live stream we had on the Big Ten show. It was a live watch party, and I was talking about how James Williams was just working from that edge so hard. And I thought that he wasn't going to get the credit he deserves. He come out in that last series, and I said that. I was like, I hope he gets the credit he deserves after this game. Comes out in that last series, did what he did, and the rest is history. He deserves all the credit he's getting right now. Vincent Shavers, as expected, has been incredible. His growth per game, and I'm going to get into some of their numbers and just kind of game by game and really see kind of the steps that some of these guys have taken. And I'm also going to get a little bit of a Dylan Raiola's passing stats by where he targets on the field. So intermediate, middle, deep right, where he struggles, where he's good, and some of those details about that. Now, some of you probably saw my Heinrich Haarberg video yesterday when talking about kind of the situation with that. Matt Rule, of course, alluded to using him in a more athletic way. I kind of hinted towards using him in an H-back role, similar to what Illinois did. I kind of had some film what Illinois did with number 85 and 84. I think that could be utilized for some series. So maybe they look to implement that a little bit. I think there's a lot that you can build off of, and it doesn't have to be, he doesn't have to play there a ton, right? Have a drive or some formations that are similar and or identical, and run 5 or 6 plays that you have set up off of that, right? And save those for the opportunities. You'll see in that video I posted that touchdown to 85 in the back of the end zone was set up by about 6 or 7 plays right before it. And they ran almost the same play, just a little bit deeper. A couple plays before they scored on that exact play. They ran a little bit different. They had a jet sweep coming across on one time, and he ran into the flats, and the 85 came out over the top. And then the second one, they had 84 come out of the backfield into the flats, and then 85 kind of over the top. So, I think there's a use case there for Heinrich Haarberg, and some people were talking about maybe using him in the option and stuff like that. That's very much on the table, I'm sure, but at the same time, some of the comments were rightfully so hesitant just because of the injury history, or not history, but just kind of how he got banged up last year. And you don't want to kind of him taking all those blows again, like he did last year, and risk because the quarterback depth, you don't know who you go to after Raiola, Haarberg. Then is it Kalen, who you're trying to retain his red shirt, or Gramstead, who might not even fully grasp the concept of the entirety of the offense just yet. So there is a situation there where that becomes a little bit dicey. So, but yeah, so let me go ahead and let me just talk a little bit about, a couple of the guys that kind of stepped up in that game and have kind of been, on the way up in recent weeks. So I'm going to pull up Mr. Vincent Shavers here in just a second. Let me pull it over here so I can get it up on StreamYard for you. So rolling through, let's see, try to take a look at his progression here. So Looking at Vincent Shavers through the numbers. Now, one of the biggest noticeable things you see here is improvement, right? It's just steady improvement. You see really good week against Northern Iowa, but you come out here and you see kind of where he was, and will linebacker, middle linebacker, and then you have right outside linebacker here, and you kind of see the snap breakdowns, etc. But you see here, 14 snaps in that game, but his snap count is steadily increasing. And as it increases, you see his numbers also get better. Pass rush 66.3. He was a heck of a pass rusher in high school, tackling 72.2. So solid tackler, 73.3 in the run defense, and then overall 73.6. So Vincent Shavers has been incredible and just getting better and better as we went along. And one of the plays that somebody had brought up earlier, and I saw it on Twitter. So I'm going to bring up a couple of these plays that I saw on Twitter. But it's Vincent Shavers in high school, and there's Vincent Shavers also last week. And I'm going to show you the similarity between those two plays here. And if I can find them for y'all, I'll pull them up. Let me see here. Okay, so here it is. So here's actually, dang it, I'm gonna have to find that again. I don't know what I did with it, but there was, oh, here it is. So there was this play where Vincent kind of bounced off of a guy, and let me put this on the screen for y'all. Where Vincent kind of bounced off of a guy, and I'm gonna pull that one up as well so y'all can see the comparison. But there is a play where he was on a nationally televised game and really kind of had the same motion. And I'm going to pull up Steve Merrick's tweet here since I think he was the original one to post it. But I'm going to pull this up here. So let me share screen. All right. So we got Steve Merrick here. And let me pull this one up first, actually. Okay. So you see this play right here. So watch Shavers. And let me turn the sound off so I don't get copyrighted. So you'll see Shavers kind of up top and right here. So you're going to see him right here. And watch this move where when this lineman comes out and doesn't really get a good punch out, right? Look how he attacks the leverage of that lineman. See, the lineman's kind of going a little bit across his body, and he just kind of throws him off. So I'll let it run full speed. Boom. Kind of shucks him to the side, right? Comes down and makes the tackle. Okay, we'll see that one more time. So, like right here, boom. Pushes him off, makes the tackle. Now we switch over to this play, and you see a very similar look. So you got Shavers right here. And now watch this play. Look how similar it is, right? Boom. Shoves him to the side, gets down on the run, right? So this is stuff that this is part of what made him such a good player coming in, is just his natural instincts as a football player, right? And Matt Rule alluded to the fact that he was a guy that really needed to kind of be more polished, but one of the things he also pointed out was that he flies around to the ball. He makes plays. And the thing about Shavers that I notice we don't see a lot, we don't see him make a lot of bad plays. He doesn't stand out for many negative things at all, like if any, right? He stands out because of the plays he makes when he's in there, and that's why he's getting more and more of the snap count. And you see that improvement over the course of his numbers. But that little clip right there just kind of shows you a lot of this stuff is instinct. And as he develops, he's 225 pounds. He was 205, I think, heading to his senior year. So he's just growing steadily, but he's a do-it-all type of guy, and he's got speed, super athletic. So Vincent Shavers has been incredible, as we all expected. Matt Rule and the staff were right on about him. And just talking about some of the things that Matt Rule said about him previously, specifically, he says he plays football the way you want to play it. He's earned the right to be talked about. He flies around, like I said, he's going to get to the football. But in that, he also had said in that he's going to miss some plays, but he's also going to accidentally make some plays. And I've seen him making more plays than he's missed, but he loves to play the game. He's grateful for everything, no entitlement, does community service and stuff like that. So, all around good kid. He flies around, can play sideline to sideline. Like I said, just insanely athletic. And yeah, his role is just steadily increasing more and more. So excited to see what Shavers kind of, continues to become. But, there's certain elements of this defense where we have these young guys getting better and better and, starting to play more as a unit. Again, I think the Illinois film really helped this defense out. I think there was lapses in there where they were out of position and maybe not, maybe slid out of position because they didn't trust the guy next to them. Or the guy next to them was out of position on occasion. They're trying to cover down for that. There were a lot of things that I'm not seeing from this defense now, and it seems like the confidence is back. They got this rotation kind of the way they want it, and it's working very well. So another one on the defensive side of the ball, Ceyair Wright. Now looking at Ceyair Wright, and I'll pull his numbers up here for you as well. So let's roll through Ceyair's numbers. All right. So you'll see Ceyair right here. So going through his grades previously, credit to the staff for this. 202 total snaps last year. So we got a very similar sample size. 114 to 121 in coverage, 82 snaps to 88 in run defense, right? But you see the numbers across the board: 85 to 70, 81.6, 87.2, 93.4 pass rush, 79.6 coverage grade. Came out and got an interception. So he has been a bright spot of this team in a position that needed in the worst way. It's hard to think about him being replaced. When Tommy Hill comes back, he's going to be the cornerback too, most likely. And so that's, and this is also a product of kind of what we talked about in this offseason. I looked at a video when I did my video on Ceyair Wright breaking them down. And whenever I did that video, I listened back to that, and they were talking about his improvements that he made over the offseason, how much better he was. And it seemed to be a lot of a lack of focus. But even with that, he came over as a 4-star transfer, right? So he's always had incredible, football ability naturally, incredible ball skills, and we're seeing those ball skills on display with the way he's able to get back and break up plays or get in front of the guy and pick him off. So Ceyair is, I can't explain how important he's been to this team, but just an overall good player. He's been getting better and better. You see right here, reception percentage against him is at 39%. That is the best of his career right here. 74 yards, 8.2 per, 19 yards after catch, 19-yard long, right? 5 pass breakups, like all career highs, even in the season where he played 618 snaps. So very, very interesting. And then you'll see he plays outside corner, of course, majority of the time now. So, but yeah, looks really good. Love Ceyair Wright being out there, and it'll be nice when Blyhill does come back and we're able to have a little bit more of a rotation out there. So I'm going to drop into some of your comments real quick. I just want to say our offense has lots of problems. I believe many positions still need to upgrade in talent. Yeah, the offense definitely has a little bit of ways to go overall. Yeah, and I'm going to get to some of the stuff here in a little bit about the offense, but this week of this bye week, one of the main reasons it couldn't come at a better time is because Nebraska is going to have to execute offensively against Indiana. And I'll kind of get into Indiana a little bit later too, but they're going to have to execute because Indiana's offense is highly efficient. Curtis Rourke is a highly efficient quarterback. I trust our defense to be physical enough to stop them. However, Nebraska is going to need to put points on the board for sure, because that Indiana offense has the potential to be they are a very explosive offense. One of the more explosive offenses in terms of of those numbers. But I'll get into why I think Nebraska is a good matchup for them in just a second. But yeah, this offensive execution, this bye week just needs to be, you know, just fine tuning details. And the thing about it is, if you execute on maybe one more of those drives a little bit better, then you kind of got a rhythm, kind of some momentum to build off of. I think the problem is when, you know, one of the things coming into the season when I predicted Nebraska would go 5-1, I predicted a Rutgers loss versus an Illinois loss. But when I predicted that Rutgers loss, it was because the physicality, that was going to be the most physical team, in my opinion, that Nebraska had played up until that point. Now Illinois, I didn't expect them to be that good. Not a lot of us did, and they were very physical as well. But it's a true freshman quarterback kind of taking those hits, taking those lumps, really, kind of getting a little bit roughed up in the pocket on occasion and kind of start seeing ghosts back there. He did miss some reads. He was just a little late, like a half second late on some reads. But again, I think those things are invaluable on film, and I think those are the details. I said out of the Illinois loss, everybody was questioning and concerned about the defense, but I said, it's not about how we come out. I mean, it is about how we play that game, of course, but the biggest thing that dictates where this team is at is how they respond to it. What do they do when they go into the film room? They look at these things and they really kind of start to correct some of the small details. I mean, you fine tune a couple of these details, maybe get Raiola's eyes in the right spot a little quicker. There's small things that can be improved to really make this defense good, or this offense good enough to win behind this defense for sure. So yeah, definitely does have some positions to upgrade. And I think another thing too is just getting some of these guys that are a little bit more, um, um, a little younger, so they can really kind of be a developed part of this team. That's another thing too. We haven't seen, we're in year two, halfway through year two, so we haven't seen a lot of what Matt Rule's capable of, even in his development of players. But we've seen it in a short sample size how well he can improve players. So it even looks like we're gaining less yards as the season goes along. Well, one thing there too, with Purdue, we were fine on yards. Purdue, our offense executed. Now we didn't score in the first half, but we had over 200 yards, and of course that touchdown called back. Like there were some things there. The Illinois game, the problem in the Illinois game is Illinois came in with a game plan to execute, and they stuck with that game plan. They had an identity that they wanted to go with, and Nebraska was unable to take them out of it because they executed and implemented their game plan before Nebraska really could. And Nebraska's offense really struggled to find an identity in that game, meaning when Illinois took a long drive down, got 4 or 5 first down or 4 or 5 third down conversions in one drive and kind of had a methodical drive down the field. Nebraska comes back and scores in 3 plays. I'm not upset about scoring. However, that puts your defense back on the field in a little bit of situation. But the offense was executing at a much higher level in those games. But there at the end, at the Illinois game, that killed us, of course. But yeah, I think this was a matter too of Rutgers defense, what they lack in talent or just overall team speed. What they do very well is, like, again, they're just a really well coached team. Kirk Shiroka, of course, I talked about him and how his 3 pillars of their offense is ball, which is ball security, execution, which is alignment, assignment, technique, and then violence, which is you're either leading the play, chasing the play, or you're engaged in a block, right? And so they're well coached on the defensive side of the ball too, and they missed 14 tackles against Washington. 11 different players missed 14 tackles against Washington, and still they did not give up the explosive, touchdown, because what they did a good job of is they did a good job of help defense where they try to funnel guys towards their help, right? And so that it's a defense that is sneaky good in terms of just how they operate, and they are the epitome. And I know we hate hearing this from Eric Shenander, but bend don't break. That was the epitome of bend don't break that Rutgers defense is. And um, so yeah, there's a lot to be said about their defense too, but our execution didn't help us and just not being able to get a rhythm. So sorry if I missed it. Any word on Bly Hill Rule? So they were not going to redshirt him. There are only 6 games left now. My thing on this is because they've been pretty keeping it close to the vest, but Bly Hill's injury, he was supposed to be kind of back earlier this season. So my wonder is if they're just kind of being a little bit conservative with it, injury management. But when he's ready to go, we'd love to have him back, of course, because he could be a very important part. Because what Bly Hill brings that the others don't is he is a very long, lanky, rangy corner, right? So he's, 6'3", 6'4", long arms, and he's able to kind of be able to go up and get the like Cam Taylor Britt, that one play he broke up where he was able to get up. Like Cam Taylor Britt could get up and make those plays, but Bly Hill having that extra advantage of having the longer arms, he's just kind of built for that outside corner role too. So he'll be nice to have, especially, if we can get him back by the Ohio State game, and stuff like that. But yeah, if they can redshirt him, that would be great for sure. Need to be Indiana and then find a way to get to Will Howard. Yeah. And yeah, I'll get into Indiana in a second, but yeah, that's going to be key. Ohio State's going to be really tough. Halfway through the season. What's up, Fong Wei? I appreciate everybody who's hopping in here. Dean, Redwine, Dion, all y'all appreciate it. We got a super chat come in. I'll get back to the other comments in just a second. Appreciate you, BA. You're the man. Appreciate the $4.99. I'm here once again to objectively say Nebraska is better than Alabama. The inside joke there was a watch party that I was doing for the Nebraska Rutgers game on my Big Ten show. BA came on there and early in the game was like Nebraska better than Bama. And slowly over the course of that game, Bama started to lose to Vanderbilt. So I'm just going to say he called it first because I saw it put on Twitter a couple times. But BA called it. Thank you so much for the $4.99, man. You're awesome. Appreciate it. And if y'all haven't checked out his channel, get over there and check out his stuff as well. Didn't see Barney much in the last game. I have to look at the overall snap counts to see how much he was in there. Not sure of his because he wasn't involved a whole lot. That's for sure. I'll be honest. My gut feeling is that Indiana is heavily overrated. They haven't faced a good defense. Their offense is not that physical. Would be the best on both sides they have seen. And I think this will be a good transition over into kind of just quickly Indiana. Where Indiana is good, like I said, is the explosiveness. And Matthew, you echoed exactly my thought, right? Their toughest game is against Maryland. Okay. Maryland dropped 24 points on them. Okay. They went blow for blow because we were following along that Northwestern Indiana game. Northwestern went blow for blow with them and just kind of ran out of gas there at the end. But Northwestern was bad. Whenever Indiana would score, Northwestern would come down and score, right? And Nebraska is way better and far more physical than Northwestern. Okay. Indiana is going to really struggle with the physicality. Kurt Cignetti is a fantastic coach, right? Top 20 coach, top 25 coach in college football, if not higher than that. That's being conservative. But that team has a lot of James Madison transfers. And that to me is not going to lend towards a very physical team, nor have they looked very physical. They're explosive. They want to beat you over the top. They can slow down, but they really aren't. They haven't been tested physically. And what happens when an explosive offense gets worn on by a really good defense, And not only that, Indiana, for what it's worth, they're ranked, they're a great story and all this stuff. But again, they're the hardest team they've played has been Maryland, I think if they play Illinois, I think if they play, Rutgers, I think it's a tough game for them. I think Illinois beats them. I think Rutgers, I don't know. That game would be close, but I think Rutgers can rough them up. But I think the physicality will be a big problem for them. Curtis Rourke is very efficient. So with Rourke, we're going to have to try to find a way to really not only get pressure, but just kind of really understand what kind of throws he likes to make and try to muddy that up as much as possible because he's going to be efficient. He's going to find holes in the defense if they are there. But I think the biggest thing, as long as our defense is in position, this defense is good enough to stop or at least slow Indiana's offense. Again, hard to tell just because they haven't played anybody physical. But with Northwestern doing what they did to them after what Maryland did to them, they are a benefit of a fairly favorable schedule so far. So I like our odds against Indiana better than the Rutgers game, honestly. So I was more worried about Rutgers in Illinois than I was Indiana and coming in the season, of course. But even now, Rutgers is to me a more difficult matchup because styles make fights, right? And so just because we may not match up well with another physical team doesn't mean when we go in there or if we are in a dogfight with another physical team doesn't mean we're not going to go in there against a team who is not physical and not be able to just kind of manhandle them and assert our physicality and kind of like almost like the Colorado game, right? So I think Indiana's QB is OXFR. What? We're both Albin Solich knew what they were doing, so he's been coached well. Yeah, he is. He has been coached really well. He's a highly efficient quarterback. He's a good quarterback. Wind was bad. Yeah, that's another thing too. The wind. Raiola was a little off on passes. Hopefully, it's not the case next week. Fedoni dropped when he should have caught. Raiola hit the ground in front of another. Fedoni should have had a touchdown too. The thing too that I want to point out, good call out with the wind. But another thing that I do want to point out is, Raiola, while he may miss occasionally, he's not missing badly. He's not missing badly, right? Like it's not to where it's going to hurt. It's really hurting Nebraska. It's not going to lose Nebraska games. And coming into the season, we said we need a quarterback that can come in and effectively manage the game, right? And Raiola's doing that so far. He's effectively managing the game. That Rutgers game, again, a lot of execution issues overall offensively, missed reads on his part as well that led to him being sacked. However, he's not losing us games. And in most instances, he is, of course, one of the big reasons we're winning games. So, yeah, that's one of those things where it's just like it's hard because we want to be nitpicky, and this is kind of Raiola's big. He had his first freshman mistake in this. The linebacker, that sat down and kind of lurked that interception where he kind of took a step forward into the line, kind of took a step back, and then was able to kind of jump up and get him on that, kind of baited him into that throw. That was really his first freshman mistake he's made this season. And I'll get into a little bit. Let me pull it up here. Let me just go ahead and get into Dylan Raiola's kind of numbers that I wanted to go over. And this is just kind of a spreadsheet of where he likes to throw on the field and kind of some of the areas of opportunity that I find in here. So when we're let's look at the overall just kind of spread of the field here. So we got outside left, 3 for 9. Okay, 6 for 8 between the numbers. Outside right, 3 for 11. So you'll see he's very good to the middle of the field, especially deep middle. 4 for 7 here, 20 for that. Now that one interception, of course, was that one that was that 50-50 ball that they deemed was an interception at about midfield that he threw up there. So outside right, 3 for 11 though. And you hear 4 for 7, 1 touchdown, 20 for 31, 2 for 5, 7 for 7, 22 for 29, 4 for 7, 1 for 1, 36 for 38, 4 for 4. This is the benefit of having a tall quarterback. Tall quarterbacks can see the middle of the field. If you have a shorter quarterback, you'll look at their numbers, and this outside is going to be heavily targeted because they can't see over the line. But then coming up here, let's look at a little bit more detailed look. So deep left, we throw that 5.3% of the time, 78.2 pass rating. Deep center, 4.7% of the time, 95.3. So he's best to the deep middle of the field, of course. Deep right. So that's 6.4% of the time. There's a struggle there. 56.1. Intermediate left. We see intermediate center. Now, this is where he's really good, and this is one of the higher percentage areas we attack, right? So that's good. Intermediate center is good. Intermediate right, 2.9%. Short left, 4.1%. Short center, 17%. Now, this is another place we go to a lot, but the short middle of the field is a bit of a struggle. 55.1 overall pass grade, 6.9 yards per attempt. Now, he has a 75% completion percentage, but this is overall tracking the quality of the throws. Now, again, I know we talked about PFF with the Hudson Card stuff. Now, just to break down how PFF grades. Now, Hudson Card was the number one ranked quarterback when Nebraska beat them. However, you got to understand the way they grade is on a throw by throw basis, right? So it's just grading. They're only grading the throw you make, not the yards after the catch. None of that. Interceptions don't kill you. They're marked as a negative play, but they see if you made the right read, right? Did you make the best read on the field? They go by adjusted completion percentage. How many drops did you have, et cetera. So it is of course, it's a semi-flawed grading system, as with any grading system. However, it's very good in terms of just measuring the overall impact of kind of like stuff like this, where you can see specifically how he's been and how efficient or where he's lacked in terms of making the best throw that he can, or actually the actual putting the ball on target as well. All of that goes into it. So 17% here, 22 for 29, 75%, 199 yards. Sorry about that. Adjusting completion percentage, you'll see right there, 75.9. So that's including drops. So 8 first downs off of that. So looking at this too, come down here behind the line of scrimmage, 22.2 at 72.1%. The behind the line of scrimmage stuff is, take that for what you will. I think some of that can be cleaned up or even taken away altogether, but there are areas of improvement here. So these are things that I think they can kind of look to and kind of clean these little things up on film, just making sure that he's making the right throws when he needs to, and they're kind of targeting the field, where he's best to operate. But I really think that if we clean up kind of this short passing game, a little bit more, a short left's good, but this short to intermediate passing game, intermediate left 64.1, intermediate right 59.3, short right, short center, behind line. So you see those are the numbers that are suffering. And one of the things that works effectively with Satterfield's offense, or what he likes to do, is use that short to intermediate pass game to help set up the run as well, and use the run to help set up the deep pass. And so when all of those things aren't working efficiently, this is kind of what it leads to. And so that is just a kind of a breakdown there on where he looks. And then you see kind of the high level overview, deep, medium, and short. So you see right here, the short passing game. That's what really needs work. We need to find out what is going on with the short passing game and figure that out. But yeah, so there's just kind of a little look at his numbers there to kind of see what we're looking at. Now, let me go over to, before I get back into your comments, there was one more player I want to touch on the defense before I forget, and that is going to be Ceyair Wright. Talked about him a little bit earlier, but let me get into his numbers. You see here, Rutgers is steadily improving. Again, I think I kind of went into his old numbers right here, but I don't know if I went into his game by game. So looking at his game by game grade here, you'll see that it's game by game improvement. Again, increase in his snap count. You'll see him at left cornerback. He played a little bit of right cornerback, but these outside snaps he's getting. Defensive rating, you'll see here that, let me go over here, the completion percentage against him, against Rutgers, 11.1%. He gave up one reception for 11 yards and 1 yard after the catch, right? So 2 pass breakups, just 65 snaps a corner. What he's done is incredible too this year. So let me get back into some of your comments here. Where was I at? My opinion, Rutgers game need to let playmakers and Raiola run the offense and not stick so long with a running game where O-line can't move anyone. It almost cost them. Yeah, it's just more so like they flow off of each other so much that I think there needs to be a little bit more of a rhythm here. Oh, Mike, what's going on, Mike? I appreciate the $10, man. Thank you so much. A creator channel named Scott Fisher put out an interesting Indiana football a few days ago. Interesting to watch sometime. No competition. Go Big Red. We got this. Thanks, Justin. I appreciate you, Mike. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate anybody who, even views, likes, comments. So all the donations, I appreciate each and every one of y'all, man. I do this full time, so it really, really helps me out when y'all like and comment and help me get in the algorithm. So thank y'all so much for everybody tunes in. But I'll check that out for sure. Scott Fisher. I feel like I've heard of that guy before. But again, thank you. Thank you a ton. It worked out my favorite. Alabama lost the day I said that in your chat. Exactly. Actually, like simultaneously from now on. Hey, Sonny. Sonny is my co-host on the Big Ten Show, was joining me in the live watch party. So he has learned BA's ways. Go 1-0 this week, guys. Hey, we're beating the bye week. Got to be ready for all kinds of new plays and trickery from Indiana to offset our physical play. Yeah. Yeah, I think they're really going to try to spread this defense out as much as possible, and try to just they're going to try to just make sure they keep this defense honest and on their heels, so that way they're going to try to, find little soft spots where they can against Nebraska. I just don't know if they quite have the ability to do that while also Nebraska's wearing on them as the game goes along. Maybe early, but as the game goes along, we'll see. I hope we don't lose on the bye week. No, yeah, it's happened before probably. I have to sign off. Look forward to listening to the recording tomorrow. I appreciate you, Dean. Thanks for hopping in, man. Really appreciate it. I'm sure two of our DBs will trip and fall on a couple of deep balls. Yeah, that seems to be. Listen, that turf monster, it'll get you. That green linebacker down there, it'll take you out sometimes. But luckily, the football gods were on our side this past week and do try to catch it off the side of his head. So at the Purdue game with Card, I no longer trust PFF on QB play. Like I said, it's about how you look at it, right? If you look at it for comparison's sakes or for ranking sake, then it's not going to. But if you look at it for specifically kind of stuff like this, charting out a throw-by-throw basis, that's what it's based on. This is going to tell you how he's reading the field to each section of the field. So while you may not agree with the overall ranking system, the fact of the matter is Hudson Card was 20 for 25, an adjusted completion percentage. He threw one touchdown and one interception, but like I said, the interception doesn't kill you. It's a negative, of course, on the pass, but it doesn't kill you. They go by first downs. He had 18 completions. 8 of those were for first downs. So he didn't do a lot, but it's not about that. He just took what the defense gave and was efficient. And it's not about just going, how you light up the scoreboard. It's just a throw by throw basis. And with those advanced numbers, his advanced completion percentage was 80%, right? So it doesn't go a matter of how the game went. He made the throws that were there and made the right reads in those situations. And whether that was the check down or whatever, it's graded on that throw by throw basis. So, yeah, I completely disagree. I've used PFF for a long time. I understand the grading system very, very well. So I know where it can be used and where it can't be used. But to say, because if you don't have knowledge of how they grade, to say that you're going to no longer use it or trust it because of Hudson Card that 1 week, that's kind of crazy to me. PFF is a good metric system. You just got to know where it's good and where it's flawed. Takeaway in the short passing game, issues after we watch his footwork, eyes still not approving. Yeah, the biggest thing is the eyes. Yeah, that's the one thing. The charts are good, just ranking grades are terrible. Okay. In that case, my bad. I digress. Nebraska has been fun this season. Kicker throwing a ball and QB kicks one. Yeah. Speaking of Buschini, man, Buschini has really, man, the toughness he showed in that game, man, that was incredible. James Williams, being embraced on the sideline. I think that shows kind of the togetherness of the team. And I think that's another avenue that, we are not seeing from the other side of this, that these guys, they go into that locker room, and Dylan Raiola especially, they go back into that locker room and they're confident. They come back out and one of the biggest things about Dylan is his ability to respond, right? Threw that interception early, but then came out the next drive, completed some passes, got back in rhythm. This team is not going to rest on their laurels. This is a team that's going to get better. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I want people to see. Last year, when the mistakes were happening, they continued and continued and continued, right? As the season went along, they continued. For the first time in a while, we are seeing mistakes and improvements, right? The offense, the defense had a struggling game against Illinois. We saw them respond, right? Now the offense has a bit of a struggle against Rutgers. Let's see how they respond. And it's the togetherness of this team. They trust, Raiola. They trust the guy behind center. And like I said, it's just those little small details will make all of the difference in this offense catching a rhythm and not. So, spoiler alert, my offensive play of the week for film breakdown is the fake punt drop in tomorrow. That was a great play. I loved it. You remember my reaction to that was like, I was like looking down and I looked up, and next thing I know, he's passing the ball. And yeah, it was incredible, just because I thought after that hit, he wasn't going to be able to come back on the field. So, yeah, great stuff by him. Another thing let me see, make sure one thing I will say, James Williams' numbers for PFF were not on here. They're not up. They haven't updated his numbers for some reason, so I'm not able to get those for y'all. But just talking about some of the numbers that, overall in Nebraska, the blitz rate for Nebraska has dropped a bit, which I think is good. We blitzed a lot, and I believe it was week 2 versus Colorado. We blitzed a ton, or week 3, sorry. We didn't blitz it all the week prior. We blitz a ton, and then we come out and didn't blitz as much. So I think our blitz rate right now is about 36%. But Tony White, in my opinion, I think another guy that deserves a lot of credit is John Butler. John Butler, our DB coach. He has not been with this team very long, but I think what kind of Matt Rule alluded to this offseason, with the fact that he's such a high level coach, right? What he did in Buffalo with that team, and again, and the Texans, AJ Boye, if y'all remember him, he wasn't all that good. He wasn't highly, regarded, and he turned him into a really, really good corner who then got a good payday from Jacksonville. And then, had a good season in Jacksonville, had a good last season with the Texans, had a good season in Jacksonville, and then kind of fell off after that, right? So, he's an awesome defensive backs coach, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for what he's been able to do with these DBs as well, because I think more so than last year, we are seeing the development of this DB room as the season goes along. Because remember, the cornerback room was a big area of concern, and now I feel like we kind of feel like we have some dudes on the outside. If they don't fall down, we have some dudes on the outside, and now we're feeling pretty confident, especially when we get Bly Hill back overall. And they do a great job of keeping everything in front of them. They rally to the ball. Tackling is good overall. And then, like I said, you got these young guys who are coming in here and, learning, Bly Hill. Just think about what Bly Hill can become under John Butler's tutelage. And so I don't think he's getting enough credit for what he's done. He had to come in and learn a completely new defensive system. The 3-3-5 is not something that they run as a base defense in the NFL. The 3-3-5 is not as near as common as the 3-4-4-3. It's like the 3-3-5 and the 4-2-5 are run a bit less, especially at that level. So he had to come in and kind of take some things that he had from his defenses and implement that with Tony White. And what he said when he came on board, because I did a video on John Butler, what he said when he came on board was that he didn't want to coach the players or, kind of do anything with the players until he worked and understood every detail of what he was talking about. And that to me shows that he's a coach and that's here for the football, and he wants to because he wants to be a defensive coordinator naturally. It doesn't guarantee that he's going to be a defensive coordinator coming here, right? So what did he do? He bet on himself. He's going to come here, he's going to try to prove himself. And so far I think he's done a great job with the room that was the biggest area of concern. I think we need to give him a ton of credit. So I think I ate a sandwich while the ball was in the big punt lasted 30 minutes. Well, it was like 3 seconds to me because I realized what was going on at the last second. Like right as Bushini was like this, I didn't know what happened. I looked down thinking we were just about to punt it. Agree, Justin and Butler. I appreciate it, man. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike. You're awesome. When the offense and defense get on the same page soon in game, watch out. Pretty much everyone is healthy. Unbelievable. Yeah. I love Butler. I saw him telling Rule and White what strategy or play a defensive fourth. Yeah, he's like, there's so many things that like he brought to this team that he's learned from the NFL ranks. And as much as, we loved, well, of course, whatever happened. The story there, who knows? But I think we kind of indicated what it was. But not talking about that, but this improvement again, and Matt Rule said we improved at the coaching of that position when this move. He said we got better. I think we're seeing that, and that's another reason why I like Matt Rule. I trust him on these coaches' decisions. I know people are talking about Ed Foley being fired. I don't necessarily think Ed Foley should be fired midseason, as frustrating as these special teams are sometimes. But I trust Rule to make the right decision in that regard because, again, the worst, the one bad decision that he's made was his first one, and it was getting Jeff Sims. Right, that was the worst decision he's made. But ever since then, I have regained confidence in him. We're running a lot of his scheme coverage wise too, which is cool. Exactly, yeah. There are elements of what he did in the NFL that are being brought to this scheme, and I think that's when he talked about coming in and learning Tony White's scheme, but then also not wanting to talk to the players until he learned that fully and was able to kind of implement his own kind of twist on it. He said that he wanted to come in and kind of help them in some ways, but he also wanted to be a student, right? And he was willing to come in. He shut his mouth and he learned. He's like, I'm not really kind of talking about coaching or anything like that until I learn this inside and out. He is a coach in every sense of the word. It's not about the money for him. It's about he is a football guy. John Butler, to every degree, is just a football guy. And you hear it in the way he talks. Like there's certain ways just pure football guys speak, and John Butler is that. He's a hard-nosed coach. He has high standards, but he makes players better, and he makes Nebraska better. So I think he's an unsung hero, of course, in this defense. Yeah, not much you can do at this point on Ed. Yeah, just hopefully they kind of are able to get some. I don't know. It's one of those. It's a tough situation to be in, to wonder how it can be this bad. With just simple holding the holding the snap, catching the snap, holding the snap in general. These are things they drill every day. So I'm curious where the disconnect is in the special teams coaching versus the rest, because the rest seems to be absorbed very well. And Matt Rule is a coach who has seen good special teams in his time, right? So I'm wondering if this is an instance where he's going to put his hand in this, and hopefully special teams is a really big focus of this bye week. And since they're not game planning for Indiana, maybe a little extra attention can be spent on an individual or even team basis with those guys and really kind of work on those details. But if it doesn't happen in the game, it doesn't really matter. It's about execution of the game. And another problem is we really don't have a kicker who can make it through the uprights. But the team is still really young. Special teams will get better. Yeah, it will. It will. Absolutely. Unsung hero, but no jukebox hero. All right, Fong Wei. Little jokester Fong Wei in there. By the way, that profile picture, the first time I ever saw it, terrified me. So I don't know what that is, but All right, if y'all got any more comments, drop them in here. Indiana, we opened as a 3.5 point underdog, which I think is about right. The Indiana crowd, this is a team like they've never had before. So they are going to be absolutely rocking. It's a big noon kickoff. So they get that little extra bump because of the home crowd, 2 or 3 point bump, what it usually is. So you know, the odds makers have that kind of almost an even game. They're probably in a similar boat as a lot of people where they're seeing the physicality versus the explosiveness, big defense versus big offense. What's going to win? Again, I think the physicality wins the day, but just so y'all know, opened as a 3.5 point underdog. We'll see how that goes as the week goes along. But the thing is, this is a opportunity here for Nebraska to earn their ranking. Right now, Nebraska's second out of the AP poll, right behind USC. So it's Michigan 20, I think Michigan's 24, 25, and then you have USC 26, Nebraska 27. Now you have an opportunity here to go on the road against a Big Ten team, become bowl eligible, and earn your ranking, right? And I know we say rank us when we earn it or whatever. Well, this is a way to earn your ranking, to go on the road in the Big Ten and beat a Big Ten team that has a ton of momentum. Their crowd's going to be electric. It's going to be on Fox Big Noon Kickoff, so it's going to be a big, in terms of eyes, there's going to be a lot of people watching this game. This is a showcase potential game for Nebraska to be able to, kind of go in there and earn their stripes and earn their ranking going into the Ohio State game. So let's see. I'm pumped for the 19th, loaded day after our game, early day. Yeah, 100%. Has Nebraska ever gone half of season with 4 turnovers? That's a great question. I would have to go back in time. Won't be a surprise to be ranked after this Saturday. It's true. This AP poll might get destroyed again. I have USC beating us, but just never know. That game is probably the ultimate 50-50 game in my eyes. USC has had both good and bad, but Miller Moss is a really, really good quarterback. And that defense, they took a blow with the defensive lineman entering the portal, but they beat LSU coming out of the gates, and I really don't think LSU is as good as people think they are. I think they almost lost to South Carolina 36-33. They beat them. South Carolina missed like a last-second field goal. So I'm not really sold on USC. I actually picked them to lose to Michigan by the exact score they lost to, 27-24 on the Big Ten team rivalry show over there. So Nebraska D run with the 5 with dropping back 2 jacks instead of 3-5 at times. Do you think that was John Butler's schemes? So I think when it comes to game planning for the overall game script, I think what they do is they kind of all come into a room and they kind of all discuss, they watch the film and they discuss what they think is the best avenue, and they take input from each other. Ultimately, Tony White, of course, has the say. But the way that Matt Rule operates, even in his recruiting, he likes to kind of get ideas. This whole staff is very open to others' ideas, but at the end of the day, the guys in charge have the final say. So they're gonna, and of course, Tony White knows he can learn a ton from John Butler. So it's probably a combination of those guys, Rob Dvorak, all those guys, kind of probably watching the film, breaking down the film, and understanding this is probably the best course of action game plan wise to do that. And then kind of Tony White kind of broke it down from there. So I just want us to beat Wisconsin and Iowa in the same season. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Wisconsin just had a weird, great game all of a sudden. So, but they haven't been consistent this year. So I'm not sure. I wouldn't expect it to happen too much. You check out Gen Red tonight, you'll get a preview of my film breakdown. So y'all be able to check out, y'all go check out a Generation Red pod. If y'all haven't already, go check that out. By the way, I used to live in H-Town. Let's go. Southwest side, south of Westheimer, Harwin, and Gessner area. Got it, man. I was born in Beaumont and I moved over to Houston um for a couple years after I got out of the military, or a few years after I got out of the military. I lived there for a few years um while I was younger. So yeah, I love Houston, man. Can't wait to get back there. My wife is from California, but I've already convinced her. Uh she's the one rushing to move back to Texas now. So plan on getting back over there, man. I miss it. Arizona is not it. The two places I wanted to move were either Nebraska or Texas. So, but all my family's back in Texas. So got to get back to my home, man. Got to get back to my home. Justin, 1,000% on how you envision that game plan coming together. I appreciate it, man. Justin Whiskey had a good game against Purdue. So yeah, and it's Purdue though. But yeah, like that's what I'm saying. They just had this weird explosive explosion of a game. Um, but they just looking at their overall season, they've been terrible. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Used to be a real good barbecue joint in Beaumont. There's a few in that area. Some of them have gone downhill, but it's funny. I'm actually from a small town. I was born in Beaumont. I'm from a really small town right outside of it called Sour Lake. It's the sticks. I live on a farm to market road. Yes, we still have those in Texas. That should tell you all you need to know. I'm outside of the city limits of a city called Sour Lake. I'm in the woods on the outskirts of that. So, or where I was living, where I grew up. So, grew out in the country, man. Grew out in the sticks. Nebraska winters suck, and I'm not built for the winter. I am a heat guy. So, I moved from Houston, and I enlisted in the military when I was 17. From there, I went to boot camp in Illinois, but I went in August. Um, and from there, my first duty station was Manama, Bahrain, which is it's a little island off the coast of Saudi Arabia. And so I did 3 years over there. So it's an island. So it's like that hot, Middle Eastern climate, but it's an island. So humidity like crazy. So it was just, that was god awful. And we had to wear full gear. I was base security. So we had to wear full gear, vest, and everything, and just walk around the base. It was not a good time, not a good time. And then from there, I went over and I was stationed at Kings Bay, Georgia. So it was hot there, and then moved back to Texas, and then moved to Arizona. So me with the heat, like tough as nails. Me with the cold, yeah. Hey, y'all are gonna see me in the fetal position as that comes in. No, thank you. Come back here to Texas. I'm DFW area. Hey, I can't wait to get back there, man. Can't wait to get back there. I won't move to Dallas Fort Worth. Just the DFW is a hustle and bustle business city. And then Houston kind of is a little bit more of the artsy. I kind of like that. But yeah, I got to get back to Texas, man. You want to admit Royals are better than the Astros yet? No. Well, no, they're not. But they took care of business, and the Astros didn't. That's for dang sure. I'm rooting for y'all though. I am rooting for y'all. I would love to see, first off, y'all beat the Yankees, but secondly, just want to see different teams. Yeah, I don't think I've heard of Sour Lake. Very few have. Very few have. My brother lives in Dallas. Lots of Nebraska fans come over to watch the game. Yeah, still, but most of my family's in Nebraska. My dad's from Ashland, Nebraska. He has 6 brothers. My dad lived out there basically until he met my mom. Well, he moved down to Texas because he was in a band, traveling band that traveled Southeast Texas, Southwest Louisiana, and he met my mom down there. So then he stayed, and but most of my family still lives in Nebraska, and that's why we go up there every year for a game. That's why I was basically born and raised a Husker fan. Huskers are my number one team over all my Houston teams. So out of the womb, I was just, my family's divided. They're half Nebraska fans, half Longhorn fans. My sister went to UT. Some of my cousins went to UT, but my 6 uncles and my 1 aunt, they're all Nebraska born and raised. And my cousin owns a restaurant, a couple of restaurants in Omaha called Pitch. If y'all have heard of them, it's there's a big one. I think there's one in downtown Omaha, and there's a bigger one in Omaha somewhere else. And then he owns a couple car dealerships out there. So if y'all ever get a chance to go by Pitch, go check it out. The Nebraska alumni chapter here in Dallas is huge. There's also a huge one here in Arizona. Huskers in Arizona. They at one point they before COVID they had 9 Husker bars in the valley, and after COVID they're down to like 6, but there's still Husker, bars in the valley, and it's one of those things where they shut down the whole bar and that place gets packed out. Like I went there for the opener against Northwestern. I know, but I was there 2 hours or an hour and a half before the game started, and I had to find a seat with another couple, right? So, yeah, I love all the alumni chapters that are out there. Yeah, a lot of Husker fans here in Arizona as well, but, yeah, a ton in Texas too. Houston has a little more international flavor than DFW. Yeah, it's definitely a cultural melting pot, that's for sure. Great food though. That's what leads to some great food is, having a bunch of different people from a bunch of different places and cultures. Those hole in the wall spots, they get really, really good with people know what they're doing. We're going to the USC game. Oh, that'll be fun. I actually want to make it out there. I don't know if I'll be able to, but be able to fly out to California. It would be a fun one to get out there and check that out. So, used to watch U of H games in the dome. Bet you that was sweet. Yeah, I was born in 1992, so I wasn't alive for or around. I was alive, but I wasn't really. I don't remember really the Oilers. I know I say the word "old" weird. It's a Texas thing, but I wasn't a fan of the Oilers. Um, wasn't old enough to be a fan of the Oilers, but Texans came around in 2002. But yeah, I was never a U of H guy. Well, I'll root for U of H passively. I'm not going to buy their stuff. It's Nebraska only for me. Stay away from California. I can tell you, I've only been there one time. Been there one time, and it was because a friend of mine, Sulim Urbina. I'm a boxer. Been boxing for over 10 years. She's a pro boxer, and she was fighting in the LA Bank of California Stadium out there on DAZN. And so she invited me to, and a few others to be ringside at her fight. And so that was the only time I've been out there. So I went out there for that fight and left. But one thing I will say about LA, I was shocked at how you can be in such a nice hotel, walk out the door, and you got 18 homeless people standing right there that are just harassing everybody, trying to sell stuff and doing all this other stuff and just harassing people. It was insane to me. It was a lot dirtier than I expected, too. So kind of wild. I've also actually no, I went twice. I've been to Dana Point as well. But I went out there with my ex to see her friends. So awesome playing them there is going to be something. USC will get better as the season goes on. My thoughts. Yeah, USC, they're a sneaky team because while they're playing inconsistent right now, when they're on, right? And Lincoln Riley and that offense, like it's hard to really go into a game fully confident against Lincoln Riley offense, especially after that many games of film and just seeing. But at the same time, we'll see how Nebraska's offense comes out against Indiana. That should give us a lot of the answers there. So, but D'Anton Lynn, what he's doing with that defense, he's done a great job with that defense. I think USC really turns a corner kind of in the next couple of years defensively because they do got a good thing going there. So I'm stuck in South Dakota still. Oh man, that's random, but hope you like it there. I guess not because you said you're stuck. We're going to be staying in Huntington Beach, then drive up to the Coliseum. Oh, that's going to be fun, man. That's going to be a blast. Hope y'all have fun out there. South Dakota is beautiful, but the winters suck worse than Nebraska on the bright side. You're I guess I gotta look that up. I look for USC to bounce back and beat Penn State. I almost beat them. The only reason why I couldn't pick USC to beat Penn State, it was a 3-point game. My prediction. The only reason I couldn't do that is because USC had 3 turnovers last week and 8 penalties, and coming straight off of that game with that poor of execution, you can't do that against Penn State. You can't beat yourself against Penn State. They're not going to kill you on offense, but they are really, really good defensively and especially in the trenches. They are a solid, solid team. So if USC comes out there and plays lackadaisical or even remotely close to how that could be a beatdown. But at the same time, like I said, USC can come out there and light it up. So I think USC, I think Lincoln Riley's a pretty good coach. I think they'll bounce back, clean up some of the penalties and stuff like that. It's just the turnovers. They're going to have to be on. They're going to have to be on offensively to beat Penn State. But Miller Moss is incredible. Like I said, there'll be 4 future opponents who have us after bye weeks. Yeah, when's our other bye week? I was in Deadwood last month visiting family. Nice. Where's Deadwood at? I don't even know what part that's in. Christy Noam is our governor. Oh, okay. I got you. I know you're talking about. Oh my gosh, just the difference of winter between Omaha and here is so much different. 5 months of cold. Yeah, how long does it stay like unbearably cold there? The problem with Arizona is the fact that it stays hot for so long. Like months and months and months. Like we had over 150 days consecutive of over 100-degree temperatures. And a couple of times it got up to about 3 days in a row, it got up to like 118. And that's part of the problem is just really, it's not necessarily always the heat. Now, I will say, being from Texas, humidity sucks much worse, right? Humidity, 90 with humidity, 95 with humidity, like that, because sweating makes me uncomfortable. That'll make you sweat like crazy. I prefer the dry heat. The way the dry heat works, it's way more intense on the skin. Think about opening an oven, right? But you're like sauteing in the humidity. Like it's like cooking your insides and you're just like sweating. Oh, it's brutal. But either way, it's not fun. So let me look at the temperature today in Phoenix. 106. So it's 106 tomorrow, 106 Thursday, 106 Friday, 104 Saturday, 102 Sunday, 100 Monday, 97 Tuesday. So that'll be fun. We also have 2 bye weeks for those 4 opponents, bye weeks against us. I love South Dakota, but I can't handle Nebraska winter, let alone South Dakota. Yeah, winners for me. Winners. Listen, I came out to Nebraska for the Colorado game. It was like 65 or 70. Maybe it was 70. I think it was in the low 70s, maybe high 60s. But I was cold. So me in the winter, I've seen snow one time in my life. It was and it was snow to where like a lot of it would hit the ground and melt, but it was enough to accumulate some. And so I made a snowman about this tall. All right, forgive me. It was right after we hired Scott Frost. Maybe I'll bring this up real quick. It was right after we hired Scott Frost, and I made this little snowman. It was my first time seeing snow, and it was right, like I said, it was right after we hired Scott Frost. So I was on a little bit of I was a little bit drinking the Kool-Aid as we all were, and I made this little guy, and turns out he melted just like Nebraska's program, but I made this little dude right here. Scott Frosty the Snowman. All right. I know, kind of corny, but that was the first time and last time I've ever seen snow in my life. And that was when we hired Scott Frost. So Scott Frosty the Snowman did not survive. I put him in our freezer for a while, but after a while, I just didn't see the point of keeping him in there anymore. So we need a freezer space. Deadwood is up in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Okay, that's why I don't know where it's at. Gotcha. Winters are good. Keeps Nebraska red. Was in a cabin by Hill City, San Diego for Purdue. Lived in every part of Omaha and Valley 80% of my life. Nice. Justin, luckily we've been defrosted. Yeah, I'll make a Matt Rule snowman next time, but I'm gonna make a much more also in that too. Your boy was excited about Adrian Martinez. I am gonna say that. Adrian Martinez got his own post on there as well. So yeah, we know how all that turned out. Listen, I was drinking the Kool-Aid, Mike. All right. So All right, everybody. Hey, I appreciate all y'all stopping in and kind of joining the conversation, man. Like I said, good bye week. Good timing for it. Got a lot of stuff to clean up before Indiana, but I think Nebraska's in a good position heading into that Indiana game. It'll be a nice, tough game, road game for Nebraska to prep up for Ohio State. Hopefully they can bring stay pretty healthy in that game. We're going to need everything we can to really put Ohio State in any kind of trouble. That is a good team. That is the best team in college football, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, but I will be coming as soon as. So they were a little late uploading the all 22 in for the Nebraska Rutgers game into the folder. So once I have the all 22s filmed for that game, I will have that for y'all in video form as well. So that way you can see where specifically the execution issues are. If you want to check out my Heinrich Haarberg video yesterday, there's some film on there showing how I think we can best utilize them. So if you want to check that out, go ahead. Thanks, Justin. Chat. Appreciate you, Mike. Hit that thumbs up. I appreciate it. Yeah, if y'all don't mind dropping a like before you head out, I appreciate each and every one of you. And Dion, great to see everyone in the chat. Great show, Justin. Appreciate you, Dion. Man, thank y'all, everybody who tunes in every week. I appreciate you more than you know. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video. Peace.